What's going on, everyone? So, the San Antonio Spurs have officially given De'Aaron Fox the 4-year, $229 million contract. Now, little surprise it didn't happen yesterday, especially if the Spurs were going to do that, but nonetheless, we are here. They gave him the full max, even after there are a lot of questions, a lot of reports on, hey, the Spurs are a little reluctant, Spurs not really sure if that's what they should do, and there were genuine questions about, hey, is this best for the San Antonio Spurs? Talked about. Spurs are getting expensive and getting expensive quick. And this was the first step towards them getting expensive and expensive quick. You have Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, right? The San Antonio Spurs, they did not know at the time of trading for De'Aaron Fox that they were going to land Dylan Harper, right? So there were these questions of is it even in the Spurs' best interest at this point to do so? But they traded for De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox pushed to go to the Spurs, right? So it's are you really going to do De'Aaron Fox dirty? Are you really going to do him wrong, right? There were talks about, De'Aaron Fox potentially, taking a little less, or the Spurs offering kind of shorter term deal, whatnot. But nonetheless, both sides agreed to the full max. Now, look, I think that this is what you should have done. I talked about it on several occasions in those videos with that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best option, but it's what else do you do? You're not just going to lose him for nothing. Yeah, you could go and trade him, but what are you trading him for? If Giannis does become available, then it's yeah, sure, you go trade De'Aaron Fox for Giannis, but even then, it's you're probably best to keep De'Aaron Fox in that type of trade, in that type of move, because you're trying to win now, right? If you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, you don't have 3-4 years to kind of round out this roster and get guys to kind of to grow and develop, right? You're in win now mode, so De'Aaron Fox makes that sense. So it's if you're going to do something like that, you should probably keep Fox. So it's okay, well, what are you going to trade Fox for that makes sense for the Spurs? So it's kind of one of those things where it's you almost have no choice but to pay him at this point, and then kind of figure it out later. My concern is just because you're in the position and just because you decide to give him the max doesn't mean that other teams are willing to. So if the time comes, say 2 years from now, right, and Harper really starts to come into his own and Castle's doing his thing and whatnot, right, it now kind of is okay, well, now would be great to get off of De'Aaron Fox. What if teams don't look at De'Aaron Fox as a $50+ million player, right? Especially if he isn't contributing to winning to the level in which you want him to pay. Because now you're paying him like he's one of your top 2 guys, which right now, currently, he is. Him and Victor Wembanyama, those are your 2 best players, right? But as Dylan Harper starts to rise and other guys start to get paid and stuff, the Spurs could, not saying that they will, but the Spurs could be in a tough spot, in a tough position, depending on how all these things shape out, how De'Aaron Fox works with the Spurs, right? You didn't have a year or two to kind of figure it out, right? And see, okay, this is the right choice or not. You're kind of going on a maybe, right, in a lot of ways. But again, it's if you're the Spurs, what other options do you have? What other path is it? Do you just go full youth mode and go with Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle and trade De'Aaron Fox for, a power forward or something to slot alongside Wemby, or maybe a center to slot alongside Wemby and maybe move Wemby to the 4? Sure, you could have maybe done something like that, but it's at this point, I think it's in the Spurs' best interest to be patient. I don't really know how I feel about De'Aaron Fox getting the full max. I would have liked maybe because the 3-year max made sense, right? Because it lines up perfectly with Castle and Dylan Harper, right? Because you have Fox who's going to kick in next season. That extension is going to kick in next year, right? And then next year you're going to do and give Wemby the max extension, which will kick in the following year. So now Fox going to that second year would be on his second year of the thing, and then you're doing that with Castle, and then you're doing that with Harper. By the time you're paying Harper, De'Aaron Fox is now off the books. But I did talk about this, I made an entire video about it. De'Aaron Fox being on the 4-year would allow you, if you can't trade him or you don't trade him or whatever, right, however this shapes up, again, it's 4 years from now, so who knows, right? But there is the potential that now, okay, so you pay Wemby, you pay Castle, now you're going to pay Dylan Harper, and now De'Aaron Fox can fall off the books. So you'll have this window of pretty hefty payroll, right? And then, Fox falls off, and then you bring in Dylan Harper on his max. So there is the potential that this team has, 4 max players at some point, right? Or very likely 3 max players for a good majority. And that's fine if you're winning, right? Like, you look at OKC. You had to do that. You just won a championship, right? You're not playing around. You're not playing those games. Like, you kept your core guys long term, right? So the San Antonio Spurs, if Fox and Castle and Wemby and Harper and all these guys really do start to grow into their own and really do continue to kind of grow and develop in a positive direction, then yes, then you pay them and you do what you have to do. That's not counting Carter Bryant. That's not counting Jeremy Sohan. That's not counting several guys, which again defaults me to they're going to have to do a consolidation trade, especially after this signing. I just think now, and again, when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm not talking about it has to happen today. Like, that's it. Now the Spurs have to. No, gradually, right? Over time. But I do think that this now means you have to get off of Devin Vassell. You have to get off of Keldon Johnson. You're probably going to have to get off of Jeremy Sohan at some point. Because, again, like, you're going to have De'Aaron Fox on a full max, and then next year, going to have to get Wemby on a full max, and then you're going to have Devin Vassell making $27 million, and then you have, Keldon Johnson, he's making, 17, 18 million, and then you're going to have to pay Jeremy Sohan what? You're going to pay him, 15 to 20 million, right? Like, and that's not counting then the following year you got to do Stephon Castle, and then the following year you have to do Dylan Harper and potentially Carter Bryant. I mean, this team, if things work out for the Spurs to the top potential, I mean, you might have 5-6 guys that are all making, maxes or close to the max contracts. So you're going to have to consolidate at some point. Again, that doesn't mean that they have to necessarily do it this year. I'm fine seeing the Spurs kind of go into this year, evaluate, see how things kind of work out and shape up, and then go into the next wave, the next step, right? And kind of see how that plays out. But, time will tell in that regard. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how, like, what the Spurs do from here, right? Do they do the consolidation trade now? Do they just kind of go that route, or do they just decide like, hey, you know what? Let's be patient. Let's let things kind of grow and develop. Let's kind of spin this year as the figure it out year, and then start making our decisions next offseason when we got to start, talking about Wemby and other guys getting new contracts, right? So I'm curious, right? Especially with guys like Jeremy Sohan, right? Keep an eye on him because, he's going to be due a contract next year. And unless they sign him onto an extension right now, but it's kind of hard. Like, what is he worth is the question. Like, how much are you paying him right now? Right? Because, like, based on what we've seen, probably not paying him more than 10, 12 million. But he's probably going to want closer to 20 plus. So it's going to be interesting. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps from that. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.